Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the world of ancient Rome, but not the Rome you usually see in movies. We're not talking about glittering senators in white togas or legionaries marching in perfect synchronization. We're going into the muck. We're looking at the jobs so strange, so specific, and sometimes so disgusting that they get left out of the textbooks. You'll be standing on a street corner in the Subura, smelling the roasting chestnuts mixed with, less pleasant things, trying to find work. Let's be honest, given the lack of modern medicine, sanitation, or basic labor laws, you probably won't survive this. Before we go any further, do me a favor. If you're vibing with this, hit that like button and subscribe. Only if you genuinely enjoy what we're doing here, though. No pressure. And hey, while you're at it, drop your location and your local time in the comments below. It's always fascinating to see where everyone is listening in from, winding down their Tuesday or starting their Wednesday. All right, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The first thing you notice isn't the sight, it's the sound, a constant grinding roar. It's the sound of 1 million people crammed into a city built for half that. You're standing in the Subura, one of Rome's most crowded, chaotic, and decidedly non-senatorial neighborhoods. The cobblestones, massive, uneven basalt blocks, are already slick, not with rain, but with the grime of the city. You're new here. You've come from a small farm in Etruria, lured by the promise of the annona, the grain dole, and the games. But the green dole only covers so much, and you, my friend, need a job. You don't have a powerful patronus to speak for you. You have no education. You just have your hands, a strong stomach, you hope, and a desperate need to earn a few sestertii before the landlord of your tiny room in that towering, flammable insula apartment block kicks you out. You walk past a popina, a fast food joint, and the smell of sizzling, greasy sausages mixed with the sharp, acidic stench of garum, the fermented fish guts sauce that Romans put on everything. It's, an acquired taste. You see men shouting, mule drivers cursing, and high above a window bangs open. You instinctively flatten yourself against the wall just as a bucket of, let's call it, night soil? Arcs gracefully through the air and smashes onto the street where you were just standing.
You've just narrowly avoided an encounter with Rome's most basic infrastructure problem. And where there's a problem, there's a job. You see a man pushing a rickety wooden cart, his boots wrapped in thick leather strips. He's not collecting trash, not exactly. He's a stercomarius. His job is to collect the dung and waste, the stercus, that piles up in the alleys, in the cesspits at the bottom of the insulae, and yes, from the streets. He's not just a cleaner, he's a businessman. He wheels this valuable cargo outside the city walls, where he sells it to farmers as prime fertilizer. It's the original farm-to-table-to-farm-again business model. It's recycling, just intensely smelly. You watch him skillfully shovel a pile of refuse into his cart, completely unfazed by the smell or the swarm of flies. You think about it. It pays, but maybe, just maybe, you can find something else. You walk on, heading toward the cleaner, wealthier part of the city near the Forum. As you go, you pass a folanica, a laundry. The air here smells different, sharp and stinging like a chemical. That's the ammonia, and you, being new to the city, are about to learn where it comes from. This is a whole microeconomy of odd jobs. The fulones, the launderers, need vast quantities of ammonia to bleach togas and cut through grease. Their primary source? Urine. You see large clay pots, dolia, set outside the fulanica and at various street corners. These are for public contributions. Men stop, relieve themselves, and in doing so provide the fulones with their main cleaning agent. But someone has to collect those pots. Someone has to empty them, filter the contents, and manage the vats where the togas are being stomped. Yes, stomped, usually by slaves, ankle-deep in a mixture of urine, water, and fuller's earth. This entire industry was so vital and the urine trade so lucrative that the Emperor Vespasian famously placed a tax on it. When his son Titus complained about making money from such a foul source, Vespasian supposedly held a gold coin under his nose and said, "Pecunia non olet." Money does not stink.
It's a great story, but as you stand there, breathing in the fumes from the Phallonica, you're pretty sure Vespasian was wrong. It definitely stinks. This is perhaps one of the most mainstream facts about Roman odd jobs, but seeing it in practice, seeing the men whose entire job is trafficking in urine, makes it feel a lot less like a quaint historical tidbit. You decide firmly that you are not cut out to be a Philone or a Stercorarius. You keep walking. You're drifting closer to the Forum Romanum now, the heart of the empire. The buildings are grander, the togas are whiter, and the smell, well, the smell is better. Why? Because here, the infrastructure is working. Here, the true, unseen miracle of Rome is flowing silently beneath your feet. The Cloaca Maxima, the Great Sewer. And this is where the real jobs are. You're not going to be an architect. You're not going to be the engineer like Frontinus, the city's curator aquarum, water commissioner, who would later write an entire book on the aqueducts. No, you're looking for a job at the bottom. You find a supervisor near a grated opening, from which a truly staggering vapor is rising. He looks you up and down. You look strong. You look desperate. You don't look like you ask a lot of questions. He hands you a leather apron, a pair of wooden-soled boots, and a hook. You've just joined the Cloacary. You are now, officially, a sewer worker of Rome. This isn't just a ditch. The Cloaca Maxima is an architectural marvel. It began as an open-air canal to drain the marshy land of the Forum, but by now, in the Imperial era, it's a vast, vaulted underground tunnel. In some places, it's over 10 feet wide and 10 feet high. Pliny the Elder boasted that a fully loaded hay wagon could drive through the main tunnels, though why you'd want to is a question for the gods. Your new boss leads you down a dark, slimy staircase into the belly of the beast. The roar of the city is gone, replaced by a new sound, the rushing of water, the distant drip, drip, drip of leaks, and the squeaking of, well, it's better not to think about the squeaking. The light from your oil lamp, a tiny flickering flame, barely cuts through the oppressive, damp darkness. The air is thick with methane and a hydrogen sulfide. It's so heavy it feels like you're breathing water. Your first job is simple. The sewer is constantly flushed by the tailings from the aqueducts, the leftover water from the baths, fountains, and public latrines. But it still gets clogged. Your job is to unclog it. You wade into the channel. The water is knee-deep, cold, and chunky. You're part of a team, and you're using your long iron hooks to pull debris from the water. What kind of debris? Silt, gravel, garbage tossed into the drains, animal carcasses from the markets, broken pottery, and other things. Things you try not to look at too closely. Sometimes you find bodies, runaways, murder victims, people who fell into the Tiber and were washed back upstream into the sewer's outlet. You don't get paid extra for those. Your other job is maintenance. You're a subterranean mason. You have to check the brickwork, patch cracks in the mortar, and replace stones that have been worn away by the constant, gritty flow. You're doing this by lamplight, standing in sewage, breathing in toxic fumes. This is not a job for the faint of heart. This is a job that probably has a very high turnover rate. You'd have to be paid exceptionally well, or not paid at all. This brings up a point that historians still argue whether the Cloacary were exclusively slaves, condemned criminals, or if free, low-status citizens would ever willingly take this job for the presumably decent hazard pay. Looking at the faces of the men beside you, gaunt and pale in the dark light, it seems like a mix. Some were clearly damnati, condemned, with the grim, empty look of men who have nothing left to lose. Others, like you, just look scared. You work for hours. Your lungs burn. Your eyes water. You've developed a new appreciation for the phrase, money does not stink, because the denarius you're going to earn for this shift, well, it had better be a very clean coin.
Your job is to unclog it. You wade into the channel. The water is knee-deep, cold, and chunky. You're part of a team, and you're using your long iron hooks to pull debris from the water. What kind of debris? Silt, gravel, garbage tossed into the drains, animal carcasses from the markets, broken pottery, and other things. Things you try not to look at too closely. Sometimes you find bodies. Runaways, murder victims, people who fell into the Tiber and were washed back upstream into the sewer's outlet. You don't get paid extra for those. Your other job is maintenance. You're a subterranean mason. You have to check the brickwork, patch cracks in the mortar, and replace stones that have been worn away by the constant gritty flow. You're doing this by lamplight, standing in sewage, breathing in toxic fumes. This is not a job for the faint of heart. This is a job that probably has a very high turnover rate. You'd have to be paid exceptionally well or not paid at all. This brings up a point that historians still argue whether the cloacarii were exclusively slaves, condemned criminals, or if free, low-status citizens would ever willingly take this job for the presumably decent hazard pay. Looking at the faces of the man beside you, gaunt and pale in the lamplight, it seems like a mix. Some are clearly damnati, condemned, with the grim, empty look of men who have nothing left to lose. Others, like you, just look scared. You work for hours. Your lungs burn, your eyes water. You've developed a new appreciation for the phrase, money does not stink, because the denarius you're going to earn for this shift, well, it had better be a very, very clean coin. Let's imagine, just for a moment, that you survive your first shift. You stumble back up the stairs, blinking against the sudden, painful sunlight. You are covered in a layer of filth so profound that dogs shy away from you. You smell so bad that you are, in effect, a walking public nuisance. Your first stop must be the baths, not the grand, luxurious baths of Agrippa, but the cheapest, oldest, darkest balneum in the Subura, the one where the water is lukewarm and probably only changed once a week. But to you, it feels like heaven. After a few weeks, you've developed the cloacarius squint. You're pale, you have a persistent cough, but you're alive and you're employed. You are the unseen gear in the great machine. Without you and your fellow sewer workers, the entire city would grind to a halt. The forum would flood with its own filth. Disease, typhoid, cholera, malaria from the stagnant water would sweep through the insulate like wildfire. The senators giving speeches, the Vestal virgins tending their flame, the emperor himself in his palace, they all depend on you, the man with the hook, standing knee-deep in their collective waste. It's a strangely powerful and incredibly disgusting position to be in. But maybe you're not cut out for the dark. Maybe you prefer the fresh air. There must be other infrastructure jobs, you mutter, scrubbing your skin raw with a strigil. You're in luck. Rome's infrastructure isn't just about what goes out, it's about what comes in. And the most impressive in is the water. You find a new job, this time as an aquarius. This is a step up, literally. Your job is now to maintain the aqueducts, the massive raised stone channels that carry millions of gallons of fresh water into Rome every day from springs miles away. This is the job that built the city,
Without this constant flow, the baths couldn't run, the fountains couldn't flow, and the cloacarii, your old buddies, wouldn't have the water pressure to flush the cloaca maxima. But you're not an engineer, remember? You're the grunt. Your job is to walk the line. You are assigned a stretch of the Aqua Marcia or the Aqua Appia, and you walk it every single day. You're walking on top of the massive stone structure, high above the fields and valleys. The view is amazing. The air is clean. This is a massive improvement. What are you looking for? Cracks, leaks. The stone channel, the specus, is lined with waterproof opus signium cement, but it cracks over time. A small leak can become a big one, undermining the structure. You patch it. You're also looking for punctuation. This is the quirky ancient term for illegal water tapping. Farmers whose lands you pass over are constantly trying to punch holes in the aqueduct to irrigate their fields. This is a huge crime. It reduces the water pressure and volume for the city. Your job is to spot these illegal taps, break them, patch the hole, and report the farmer to the curator. You're basically the ancient world's most overqualified water meter reader. Nobody is happy to see you.
The other part of your job is cleaning. Every few months, the water has to be diverted from a section of the aqueduct. You then have to get inside the spacus. It's a dark, narrow tunnel, and you're in there with scrapers and brushes. You're scraping off the center, the hard mineral deposits, calcium carbonate, that build up on the walls. If you don't, the center will eventually choke the channel completely. It's hard, tedious work, but compared to the cloaca, it's a spa day. You're scraping minerals, not whatever that was yesterday. You're still not done. Back in the city, the aqueducts feed into castella aquae, or water distribution towers. From there, a spiderweb of pipes carries the water to the baths, fountains, and the domus, homes, of the rich. And these pipes are where our next oddly specific job comes in. The pipes are made of lead, plumbum. The man who works with them is a plumberius, a plumber. You decide to specialize. You apprentice yourself to a plumbarius. Your new job is to work with these heavy, toxic pipes. You're soldering them together, which involves melting the lead. You're inhaling lead fumes all day. You're handling it all day. You might notice a constant sweet, metallic taste in your mouth. Your hands might start to shake a little. This is, of course, lead poisoning. It's slow, it's cumulative, and it's deadly. The job comes with a guaranteed, if unfortunate, retirement plan. But hey, you're now a skilled artisan. You're the one connecting the wealthy politician's new fountain, making sure his nymphaeum, grotto, has that perfect, gentle cascade. Let's say you survive the lead fumes. You're still in infrastructure. What about the roads? The VA? The legions built the highways, but in the city, they're constantly being torn up. The plumbarius has to fix a burst pipe. The cloacarius has to access a blocked drain. And after they're done, someone has to put it all back. Enter the pavimentarius, the pavement layer. This isn't just smoothing asphalt. You're working with soxa, the massive polygonal basalt flagstones that make up the Roman roads. These things weigh hundreds of pounds each. Your job is to pry them up with massive iron levers, allow the plumbers or sewer men to do their work, and then put them back perfectly. You have to relay the complex, layered foundation that make Roman roads so durable. The statumen, the large stones, the rudus, the smaller gravel and mortar, the nucleus, cement and sand, and then finally the summum crustum, the paving stones. You have to set them so they are perfectly level and locked together, with a slight crown so the water and the stercus runs off into the gutters. It's back-breaking, knuckle-smashing labor. You're doing this in the middle of a busy street, with mule carts trying to rattle past, and senators in their littike, litters,
carried on the shoulders of slaves, yelling at you to get out of the way. You're the ancient construction crew, and you're getting just as much respect as the modern equivalent. As you finish your day, whether you've been scraping minerals, soldering lead, or wrestling basalt, you are fundamentally exhausted. You've earned your pay. You're the grease for the wheels, the water in the pipe, the foundation under the road. You are utterly essential and completely invisible. You head back to your insula, grab a piece of bread and some wine, and fall onto your straw mattress, the roar of the city still humming in your bones. You've survived another day, and that's all you can ask for. But as you drift off, you can't help but wonder, what about the people who don't work with their hands? What about the people who work with the body?
You drift off, and your dreams are a chaotic jumble of scraping sounds, the smell of minerals, and the constant crushing weight of basalt stones. You wake up with a start, your back aching. No, you've decided you are done with infrastructure. You are done with grime. You are done with lead fumes, and you are absolutely 100% done with the cloaca maxima. You need a change. You want a job that's clean. A job that involves, for once, things that are supposed to smell good. You have an idea. You're going to get a job at the Thermae, the great public baths. You head to the baths of Agrippa, the first of the grand imperial baths, a sprawling complex of marble, statues, and noise. It's the social center of the city, a place where senators and shoemakers can, in theory, relax together. You, of course, are not here to relax. You're here for work. You find the procurator of the baths, and using the same strong, desperate, won't-ask-questions look that got you hired in the sewers, you manage to land a job. You're thrilled. You'll be working with scented oils, hot water, and wealthy patrons. What could go wrong? Your new boss leads you down past the gleaming marble of the caldarium, hot room, and the tepidarium, warm room, down past the swimming pool, the natatio, down into the basement. The heat hits you like a physical wall. It's not the damp, oppressive heat of the sewer. It's a dry, choking, fiery furnace. You are in the hypocaustum. This is the technological heart of the baths, the massive furnace system that heats the entire complex. Hot air, smoke, and cinders are pumped through a space under the floors. The floors are held up by thousands of short brick pillars called pili, and up through hollow tiles in the walls. It is a brilliant, magnificent, and mainstream feat of Roman engineering. And you are the furnacator, the furnace stoker. Your new job is to stand in this subterranean, soot-blackened hellscape and feed logs into the roaring mouths of the furnaces, all day and all night. The job is a relay. The baths must never go cold. You are stripped to a loincloth, rivers of sweat cutting clean channels through the grime that instantly coats your body. Your skin is singed, your eyes water from the smoke, and your lungs are probably just confused at this point. After your Aquarius job, they were expecting clean mountain air, and you've given them this. You've traded the filth of the sewers for the soot of the furnace. It's a lateral move, at best. You last 2 days. You can't take the heat, and you are definitely getting out of this kitchen. You complain. You beg. You find your supervisor, and perhaps you bribe him with a small portion of your sewer pay. He sighs. He doesn't want to lose a body, even a complaining one. He agrees to promote you. You are now an unctor. This is what you thought you were signing up for. You are now working upstairs in the unctuarium, the oiling room. This is a small, warm room adjacent to the exercise yard, the palestra, and the hot rooms. The air is thick with the scent of olive oil, rosemary, and sweat. Lots and lots of sweat. Your job is twofold,
and it's the core of the Roman bathing experience. First, you are the pre-bather. A Roman, say a burly centurion off his shift, comes in from the palestra. He's been wrestling, lifting weights, or playing trigon, a high-speed catch game with 3 people. He's covered in dust, grime, and a frankly heroic amount of perspiration. He comes to you. You take your jar of cheap, unscented olive oil, and you slather it all over him. Every square inch. This isn't a gentle massage. You are applying oil. This is the ancient equivalent of soap. The oil is meant to loosen the dirt. The centurion then goes off to bake in the caldarium, sweat even more, and maybe take a dip in the cold frigidarium. Then he comes back to you. This is part 2, the post-bath. He stands in front of you, a glistening, sweaty, oily monument to Roman hygiene. You take out your primary tool, the strigil. It's a curved bronze or iron scraper. Your job is to scrape him clean. You scrape his arms. You scrape his chest. You scrape his back. You scrape places you really don't want to scrape. With each pull of the strigil, you remove a thick, gray, waxy residue. This is the glaie, or strigintum. It's a delightful cocktail of oil, sweat, dirt, dead skin cells, and maybe a few stray hairs. You wipe this gunk off the strigil and into a small pot. Now, here is the truly quirky and, let's be honest, gag-inducing tidbit of the day. You don't just throw this gunk away. No, that pot of collected glaie is valuable. It's collected, bottled, and sold. Who would buy it? Well, some women reportedly bought it and used it as a facial cream. Yes, the logic, which requires a PhD in what were they thinking-ology, was that if it came from a strong virile gladiator or athlete, it must contain some of that essence. It's the ancient world's most disgusting celebrity endorsement. You're not just an unctuar. You're a cosmetics harvester. But your job isn't done. The centurion is now clean, relatively, but he's hairy. Many Roman men, especially in the later empire, preferred a smooth, civilized look. Your boss motions you over. You are also the alipilos, the depilator. You grab your other toolkit. This one contains Volsella, a set of bronze squeezers, and a pot of Dropax, a resin-based pitch and vinegar concoction that is essentially ancient Roman wax.
Your job is to remove the centurion's armpit hair. The baths were notoriously noisy. Seneca, the philosopher, famously complained about living above a bathhouse. He wrote about the grunts of the weightlifters, the slaps of the masseurs, the shouts of the trigon players, and the shrill, persistent shriek of the man having his armpits plucked. You are the man causing that shriek. You look at the centurion, he looks at you, you grab the tweezers, he winces. This is by far the worst part of your job. It's a delicate operation, and your client is a mountain of muscle who is not enjoying himself. You make a light joke about how this is plucking the eagle, but he just growls. You decide to work in silence. You survive the centurion. You survive the day. You've scraped, you've plucked, you've bottled things you'd rather forget. But you're in the body business. You start noticing the other specialists. You're just a low-level unctor. But over in the women's section, or in the wealthy domus, or private homes up on the Palatine Hill, the real magic happens. You hear about the ornatrix and the cosmete. These are the rock stars of the body trade. Let's imagine you've managed to get a new job, a referral from a wealthy senator who appreciated your silent and efficient plucking. You are now a slave in his domus, assigned to his wife, the domina, and you are training to be an ornatrix, a lady's hairdresser. If you thought plumbarius or unctor was a skilled job, you are in for a shock. The ornatrix is a high-level artisan. Your dominus hairstyle is not just a personal choice, it's a public statement of her wealth, her status, and her fashionableness. And in the Flavian or Antonine period, those hairstyles are insane. We're talking massive crescent-shaped multi-story beehives of curls, braids, and puffs. These aren't just updos. They are architectural sculptures, and you are the architect. Your toolkit is terrifying. You have the calistrum, a hollow iron curling tong that you heat in a small brazier of hot ashes. It's your job to get it exactly the right temperature. Too cold, and the curl won't hold. Too hot, and you've just singed off your mistress's.
Your domina wants to be fashionable. Fashionable means pale. Very, very pale. So your first step is foundation. This is cerussa, a paste made of white lead and vinegar. Yes, lead. The same stuff your plumbari's buddies were soldering. You are now rubbing it directly into your mistress's face. It works. It makes her skin look smooth, white, and flawless. It also, over time, poisons her, eats away at her skin, requiring more lead to cover the blemishes, and will probably make her sterile and a little bit crazy. But in the short term, she looks fantastic. Next, blush and lipstick. This is safer. You use rubrica, red ochre, chalk, or the dregs of expensive red wine. You apply it with a small brush to her cheeks and lips. Then the eyes. This is the big one. Big, dramatic eyes of the goal. You use fuligo, suit, literally, or powdered antimony for a dark, smoky eyeliner. You use a small, rounded wooden or ivory stick to apply it. You might add a touch of color, crushed malachite for green or azurite for blue on the eyelids. And, of course, the unibrow, the height of fashion. If your domina isn't blessed with one, you create one for her, using soot and a steady hand to connect her eyebrows. And the skin care? Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen. We're not sure if that's a real thing or a joke by Pliny, but there were definitely interesting ingredients. Face masks of dough, milk, and placenta were not uncommon. You are the specialist who not only applies this stuff, but also mixes it. You're a beautician, but you're also a chemist, an artist, and a potential poisoner. But the body business isn't just vanity. It's health. Let's go back to the baths. You've quit the domus. Let's say you accidentally dropped the calamistrum and fled. You're back at the thermae, but you've managed to get another promotion. You are now training as an iatroliptes. This is a medical anointer. You are a step above the unctor. You are, in modern terms, a physical therapist or a sports masseuse. You're not just scraping, you're treating. You've learned from a Greek master. You know which oils are for which ailments. You use friction, massage, and gentle manipulation to treat sprains, soreness, and even indigestion. The great physician Galen, one of the most famous names in ancient medicine, actually began his career as an iatroliptes to the gladiators at Pergamum. This was a high-stakes, important job. You weren't just plucking hairs. You were keeping the star athletes and the senators they bet on in fighting shape. This is a respectable, skilled medical profession. And the specialization just gets more and more specific. Roman medicine was obsessed with this. You're not just a medicus, a doctor. You might be a medicus ocularius, an eye doctor. And historians have found dozens of eye cakes, small stamped ingots of solid medicine that you would scrape and mix with water to create an ointment. Or you could be a medicus dentarius, a dentist, who, yes, pulled teeth with iron forceps, but also created sophisticated gold wire bridges and even drilled cavities. Or if you're really specialized, you're a medicus auricularius, an ear doctor. You thought your insurance was confusing? Try finding a specialist in Rome. It's a job for everything, and everything has its job. This is all well and good. You've worked on the body from its exterior beauty to its interior aches. But there is one final, oddly specific job in the body business, the one nobody wants, the one that once you take it, you can never quite wash off. You have been fired from the baths. You're desperate. You've worked the sewers, the roads, the furnaces, the salons. You see a notice. The Temple of Libitina, the goddess of funerals, is hiring. You have become a pollinctor. You are the preparer of the dead. You work for the Libitiniarius, the head undertaker, who manages the funerals, but you do the work. This job is funestus. It makes you ritually polluted. You are not allowed in temples. You are not allowed to hold public office. You must, by law, live outside the sacred boundary of the city, or in the most disreputable, darkest corners of the Subora. You are socially on par with the executioner or this Jacoriarius you met on your very first day. Here is your job. A rich Roman has died. The family has performed the conclamazione, the ritual shouting of the dead person's name to make sure they are really dead. Now you are called. You enter the domus by the back door. The family, weeping, retreats. You are left alone with the body. First, you wash it. You gently clean the body, which is already beginning the process you rather not think about. Second, you anoint it. You use oils, perfumes, and spices, myrrh, frankincense, cinnamon in a desperate and ultimately futile attempt to mask the smell of decay. You plug the orifices with linen. Third, you dress it. You put the deceased in his finest, whitest toga, a toga praetexta if he was a magistrate. Fourth, you arrange the body for the viewing. You lay it on a high funeral couch, lectus funebaris, in the atrium, with its feet pointing toward the door. You place a coin, an os or quadrans, in its mouth, or perhaps just place it in the hand or on the eyes. This is the famous payment for Charon, the ferryman who will carry the soul across the river Styx. This is grim, silent, lonely work. You are the last person to care for this individual. But for a noble family, you have one more highly skilled task. You are also an artist. You must make the imago, the wax death mask. You apply a layer of plaster or wax to the face of the deceased, creating a perfect three-dimensional negative. From this, you cast a positive in wax. This mask is then painted to look as lifelike as possible. This imago is the family's most prized possession. It will be kept in a small wooden shrine in the atrium, alongside the masks of their father, their grandfather, their great-grandfather. And at the next family funeral, an actor will wear this mask, marching in the procession, a ghostly parade of ancestors escorting the newly dead to the afterlife. Your job as the despised pollinctor is to create this one vital link to immortality. Historians still argue whether the pollinctores and libitiniaries were simply slaves or if they were organized into a formal, though shunned, professional college. They were essential, but they were also pariahs. You finish your work. You are paid handsomely. It is hazard pay, after all. And you slip out the back door, the smell of death and myrrh clinging to you. You've done it.
You work every conceivable job related to the Roman body, from the sweat on its skin to the wax on its face. You are exhausted. You're probably ritually unclean. You need a bath, but you're not sure you can ever step inside a therme again without thinking of glaves or tweezers. You walk through the streets in Rome at night, and you look up the Palatine Hill. The palaces are lit with torches. You can hear fight music. You've had enough of the public. You've had enough of grime, and you've had enough of death. You want something else. You want a job that is above all civilized. You've heard that in the emperor's palace there are men whose only job is to talk. Surely that must be easier. Surely life in the imperial court is clean, simple, and safe. Right?